in over 20 years outpaced right-wing violence in this country. So that's something that is notable. It's important to combat, to address. But what does this chart say to you?
It says that we have a country in which a small percentage of people believe that violence is the natural extension of politics. And we can look at this person or that person, try to find an ideology or an overcompassing ideology. The ideology is violence as politics. So the way we look at it in terms of the radicalization process is the language essentially of annihilation is really what draws people to violence. In other words, they believe that the table can only sit 6 people, and therefore if another person gets a seat at the table, they have to be removed because then my seat is taken. So you can look at the language and Pierce language, but I do want to just say something that's clear, that people react to their leadership's language. And that leadership, no one compares to Donald Trump. So instead of saying, you know, it's not his fault or it is his fault, maybe we can just look to the future, which would be, what would you want a good leader to do for the United States in the future? And I don't think any of us can sit here realistically and say Donald Trump can take on that mission. He can take on the mission to try to tone things down, to try to get violence out, to try to get violence out of this situation.
But he did not the other night, for real. Like, seriously, if someone had tried to kill me for the 4th time, I don't think I would have been as calm as Donald Trump.
It is interesting.
If you pierce a certain
I don't think it's funny to laugh about a guy almost getting shot.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at him. I'm literally laughing at you.
Because he's been shot at 4 times.
Let Juliette finish her thought,
I'm literally laughing at you.
If you pierce a certain language or a certain moment of a leader, right? He said this and that was a good moment, or he said this and that was a bad moment. You're sort of missing the totality of circumstances. So I'm not here to fight about whether it's all Donald Trump's fault or all the left's fault. It's just say, if you thought, I want to fix this for the country, it would be, you would look to your leadership. And in fact, you would give the president, a president, not this president, any president, the responsibility of their position to say that a leader would try to tone things down. And I just honestly think none of us believe that to be true. And that's therefore the challenge in the future, is that the language on the right or the left is unlikely to change until citizens, honestly, becomes intolerant of it.
There's new polling data that's out that say that there's about 20% of young Democrats in this country that think political violence is acceptable. Could that be because we have normalized demonizing the sitting president of the United States of America and calling him Adolf Hitler, or saying he's a threat to democracy, or saying that he's an evil man?
J.D.
or
Vance
saying,
called him Adolf Hitler.
Again, I go back. Did he take it back?
Yes.
And
He got something out of it.
Oh, wait, the guy's not Adolf Hitler.
He got
and
something
I
out of
actually
it.
like him. He works with him.
If I was had a payoff out of it, I would take it back
This is why they will never stop trying to kill Donald Trump, because there is no bullet that can be shot at him that somehow is not justified by the left saying, well, somehow it's Donald Trump's fault.
Well, look,
he's the one that said things in the past. They are going to try to kill him forever if y'all keep this up.
I will say this until I'm blue in the face. No one at this table has justified any violence against President Trump.
Abby,
and so I think that
with all
making
due
those generalizations, with all due respect, making those kinds of generalizations only coarsens the dialogue that we're trying to have. And look, if your argument is that
if
your argument is that the totality of the circumstances are simply what is being said about Donald Trump, that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, whatever. Let me just play this. This is Caroline Levitt. She's accusing Democrats of what you're accusing them of, and then listen to the rest of this.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, President Trump is making the country look like a, quote, fascist state. Senator Adam Schiff saying President Trump using a dictator playbook. Senator Ed Markey calling President Trump a dictator, saying that this administration's actions are authoritarianism on steroids.
We're living in a fascist state. It all comes out of the White House. Crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of our country. There's a radical left Marxist, communist, fascist. She's a Marxist. She's a fascist. Comrade Kamala Harris.
So, look, the point is that it's not that Donald Trump is responsible for violence against those people. The point is that it's not enough to explain the moment that we are in. It's just, did he call her a fascist? Did she call him a fascist? Because that is happening on both sides of the debate. There is more that is contributing to where we are as a country, and it is bad. It is unquestionably bad. And if we fail to actually address the root causes, we are going nowhere.
I would say
this.
So if we want to bring the country together, since Donald Trump was actually shot, has he toned down his rhetoric or has he raised the rhetoric?
It has been.
It is definitely toned down from 2016 to 2020.
It has been 48 hours.
No, I said the first time when he was shot in the ear. Has his rhetoric gone up or down?
All right.
I agree with you. In 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20, he was way more in your face. You look at a guy that was shot at again the other night, and he went much calmer.
Look,
much calmer. And yet you still say, well, this is somehow Donald Trump's fault.
We have more on this topic because there's more on this topic. But to answer your question, has Donald Trump's behavior changed?
What should you have said the other night differently?
This is to Juliet's point. It's not any one particular moment. It is the totality of circumstances.
Maybe if we could just sort of switch the conversation, just look going forward. And does anyone at this table believe that Trump can lead, because he is the leader of the United States, towards a less violent rhetoric?